So we're going to go over, we learned about a key that helps us organize where organisms belong. But how do we create that key is based on specific characteristics that we're going to use to classify organisms. So we're looking at organisms in the world. Any living thing has to be classified, and they're going to be classified based on really 4 things and then some other ones, okay? So the first thing we use to classify is nuclear condition. What are the 2 things that we look at in terms of nuclear condition? Good. What's the difference?
One of them has a nucleus.
Which one? Has nucleus. Think of you are eukaryotic. You have a nucleus. We have a nucleus along with protists, fungi, and plants. Prokaryotic, no nucleus. And the only organisms that fall under that bubble are bacteria. So if a dichotomous key is going to be created to classify organisms, the first thing on the dichotomous key will say, has a nucleus, and that would be number 1A, and 1B would be, does not have a nucleus, right? That's the first characteristic we look at. Cell condition. What are we gonna look at? Good. And what does that mean? Uni versus multi.
The uni means what? One cell, and multi means
more than one.
More than one cell.
It usually means many. And so the second thing on the dichotomous key would be has one cell or has more than one cell. Okay? So if you're classifying organisms, these are the first 2 things you're going to look at to determine where they belong in which kingdom, okay? Because we're talking about kingdoms. Then we look at method of feeding. Good. Autotroph means what? Makes their own food. And which can do what? They consume. Good. They cannot make their own food. They must consume.
Oh my gosh, that's the same picture from
The last characteristic is motility, okay? Which means what? Movement. Many organisms cannot move, so they're non-motile. But most can, okay? Remember that when we studied the characteristics of life, movement was not one of them. Being able to adapt, evolve, or react to some external condition, that is definitely part, but movement is not one of them. So some living things actually do not move. Right, so what are the 4 characteristics we use to classify organisms? Who could tell me? Their cell condition, nuclear condition, can it move, and how it feeds, or how it obtains energy, okay? Then we look a little bit further. So sometimes organisms are going to fall into this kingdom, but there's some variation that really they don't belong to the same kingdom. So these are some of the things we look at. What are they? Good. DNA or chromosome structure. We look at that. And we look at their makeup, which involves DNA, proteins, amino acids, all of these things. What else? Good. Homologous structures. We look at similarities between their bone structures and arrangements of limbs and things like that. What else? Reproduction or reproductive potential. Are they asexual or sexual?
The embryonic.
Good. And we look at their stages of development during their embryo. My personal spell checker, Carlos.
It's recording.
Embryology. All right. I'm going to stop there. Okay? That's all you have in your notes anyway, right?
Yeah.
Done.